Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I'm the Takanome, and welcome to my humble slice of the internet. That is my Twitch and YouTube channels. I guess it would be my humble slices of the internet. However, how are you all doing today? Welcome back to the reading stream. It has been about 2 weeks since we last had our reading stream here on Twitch and YouTube for, well, a couple of reasons. I believe not Saturday. We do reading stream on Sundays now. But 2 weeks ago, what happened 2 weeks ago? Oh, 2 weeks ago was the final Sunday of the month, which I did community day with the group as well as a writing group. And I am coming to the conclusion that I cannot do my local writing group, community day, and reading stream essentially back to back. And sometimes, like a little house meeting that I'm a part of, cannot do all four of those in one day. So I'll talk about that a little bit more. And of course, last Sunday was a farewell party for the do-it-yourself car garage that I wanted to go to. So those 2 Sundays, I could not do the reading stream, but here we are, ready to do the reading stream. And today, we will continue reading. Well, I pressed the wrong button here. Clockwork Twist, Book 10, Time, by Emily Thompson. Now, for those of you who may be wondering, why, who is this Emily Thompson person? Allow me the opportunity to read their bio. Emily Thompson is a non-binary author and artist originally from Northern California. Although they adore steampunk and all things Victoriana, they also write science fiction and fantasy. After studying film and animation in university, Emily changed to a Japanese language focus and studied in Tokyo. After receiving a language degree and spending a number of years abroad, they now live in Washington and spend most of their free time writing in coffee shops, painting, crocheting plushies, coding, and playing lots of cozy video games. And that is our author for the evening. And speaking of the author, I would like to say domo arigato to the author of this series for, oh my, 30 months of subscriptions. I mean, to be completely honest, to the author, well, I'll start by this. Domo arigato. I really do appreciate all of the support that this channel receives. I'm just surprised that you have been subscribed to this channel for 30 months. That's over a year. In fact, that's over 2 years, going on 3. So I am very much impressed and humbled by all of the subscriptions that you've given me over the time. And it's not just subscriptions that I appreciate for this channel or channels, if you will. I do appreciate retweets. Well, can't retweet. That's not a thing anymore. But I do appreciate things such as follows and subscriptions, telling friends and family, and of course, if you, dear listener, or anyone you know happen to be a writer, or maybe you dabbled in writing a little bit, and you think to yourself, boy, I would definitely like the Takanome to read my works on his reading stream. Maybe he could bring a little bit of life to my characters. Or maybe I'd like to see his take on my work. Why, give me a drop, well, give me a message, I suppose, either on Blue Sky or Twitch or even YouTube, because I check that as well. And from the author, why watch ads when I've got that Prime sub burning a hole in my pocket? Well, that is one way to not worry about ads. I do wonder. Now, for the reading stream for sure, I do have ads turned off on Twitch. I cannot control what happens on YouTube. But for Twitch, I did turn off ads, and honestly, I've turned off some of the perks of being an affiliate on Twitch. I just turned them off because I felt that it detracted from the stream itself, especially the reading stream. I've always turned off ads for the reading stream because the reading stream is about an hour and a half, sometimes less, sometimes more. And I want the reading stream to continue to be a segment of time where you can more or less chill, relax, not have something blaring at you, and to hear a nice story, as well as our non sponsor sponsorship that we will talk about later if you do not know what is going to happen. For regulars of the reading stream, we all know what's going to happen later, but we'll wait. We will wait. Let's see. News. I do have to give some news. So, I mentioned that 2 Sundays ago, we did not have the reading stream because of all the things that were happening that Sunday. And I am coming to the conclusion that final Sundays of the month, there will be no reading stream because it is more than likely I will have a writing group, community day, and possibly house meetings all on that day. And honestly, that is a lot. That is very much a lot. I've mentioned this before. Doing the reading stream, reading and standing on my feet for about an hour and a half, it takes a surprising amount of energy, more than one would initially think. So when I do the reading stream, I want to make sure I'm well rested, my mind is a bit cleared, and that I can actually stand for an hour and a half straight. From Erudite, really? I got an ad when I loaded today, maybe because I don't load Twitch except to listen to you. It is also possible, I haven't checked my settings in months. It's also possible that Twitch just decided if you're affiliate, we're going to get ads on here one way or another. It's odd. I don't understand it because I will not dwell on this very long. I promise I'll keep this short. But if anyone streams on Twitch, if you are an affiliate on Twitch, I should say, most affiliates on Twitch, although they are making something of an income when they stream, we do not make enough for honestly for it to be worth it. I believe, and I don't mind sharing this about my own profile and how much I made. I am not a big streamer, obviously. But even when I streamed more, I believe the most I made in a year from Twitch, maybe a less than $100 for sure, a bit more than 50, but generally it is a bit of a laughable low number for the equipment, the time that you spend, the games that you buy. I put a lot of money into my own stream, and honestly, I'm not getting a lot out of it. And I've said this before. The reading stream, my Twitch channel, and now the YouTube channel, they are for essentially hobby entertainment purposes only. That could change in the future as I try to write some more, but honestly, I do it because I want to, and I enjoy doing things like the reading stream. That is my soapbox. I will put it away for now, and we'll go on to more news. With that said, August 31st, we will not have the reading stream because once again, house meeting, writing group, community day, and after that, I just want to crash. Any other news? Well, this has nothing to really do with the reading stream or these channels. However, I'm hoping that you can join me in congratulating, well, Miss Taka and I for being married for 12 years. This week, we are celebrating our 12-year anniversary. Let me make sure I counted that correctly. Yes, this is our 12th year anniversary of being married together and 20 years since we first met each other at university. That what on a nice warm summer night when we were both starving, hoping we could get food. 20 years and 12 years of marriage. So I, well, Miss Taka already knows this, but I'm going to say it on the air anyway that I love you very much, Miss Taka, and I'm happy that we've been married for and been together, honestly, for so long because a lot of relationships do not last this long, let alone marriages. Well, I guess a lot of marriages do not last this long, let alone in relationships. However, not to toot my own horn, still, I just want to say thank you to Ms. Taka for putting up with all of my antics over the years because there were antics for sure. Thank you, Erudite. I I too am happy. Let's see. Any other news for these channels here? I do not believe we do, though I do have some personal, I guess, writing news. Is it about book two of the Corrupted Gene series called The Foreigners? Well, I am still painfully going through and editing it. I will say this. Ms. Taka is a wonderful and amazing editor, and she is brutal. And I think I'm getting to the point where I finally licked my wounds to continue editing my own book. So I apologize. I know this has been a long time, but book two will be edited again. It's going to be polished, and well, I will let you know when it is finally available. I do not know how long it takes. Remember, I am not a professional author by any means, but I do enjoy writing stories, so here we are. This is the world I found myself into. However, and I have also been making progress outlining book three, which has been difficult. I don't know how many people who may be listening who are authors, but I can certainly say where you have a lot of things happening in the background, they're all coming together. You have to make sure that they all come together correctly, or you will have plot holes. And I have been running into plot hole after plot hole outlining not chapter three, but book three of this series. In addition to those, those two books, I, and some short stories I've written, I've also started brainstorming, drawing out a world for another set of stories or book that I'm thinking about writing. Well, not thinking about, I'm planning to write. I feel that this book would be a little easier to write, or at least not as hard to write because I'll actually plan it out from the beginning instead of ad hocing it and trying to retcon everything into working properly. So that is also happening as well. And I believe that is all of the news we have to share before we get into our book. So again, this is Clockwork Twist, Book 10, Time by Emily Thompson. We got our book ready to go. We have our lovely cup of tea still steeping a little bit. Ooh, that's a nice steep. And we have a bottle of water, which I'm going to take a quick sip of because I can feel my throat becoming dry. There we are. Book 10, Time. We are currently on we are on page 127, but I owe you, dear audience, a recap of what's going on in this story, as well as the series. So, a quick recap. For most of his life, Twist was alone. His sight, his special ability, allowed him to see how something is broken when he makes physical contact with it. This includes dramatic experiences of other people. He had resigned himself to solitude in his little London clock shop. His world changed when a young woman entered his shop and enlisted his help to mend the mythical Clockwork Princess. Since then, he had traveled around the world and encountered all manners of strange and mythical beings with a dashing pirate and the Clockwork Princess by his side. It is not all fun and games. There are powerful forces searching for him and his pirate friend. Many attempts have been made on their lives. Nevertheless, they have persevered, and Twist's bonds with his companions only grow stronger. Continuing their journey to Argentina, Twist and his friends had a brief reunion with Sky, the Rook agent who helped retrieve Jonas from the claws of dragons orbiting Earth. She warns everyone that a war between fairies and the sighted population has broken out. Twist and his companions consider themselves fortunate that Pamut, a boy spirited away as a child, had warded the entire ship and crew against the fairies. However, fairies are persistent. How long can Twist and his friends avoid them? And with that, let's begin tonight's story. After what seemed to have been such a long day, Twist slept deeply that night. Mira's spirit seemed peaceful, sleeping beside him and filling his sight to the brim with the illusion of her true form. Her mended watch lay snug under her pillow as always, while Twist's watch rested beside it under his own pillow. Twist awoke late the next day to find his room quiet and filled with sunlight. He felt the pressure of the light on his closed eyelids and lazily remained buried in the covers for a long moment before even attempting to open his eyes. Soft murmurs rose from the kitchen below his cabin, and faint, enticing scents whispered on the air, promising that breakfast was already underway. Recognizing one of the scents as bacon, Twist began to seriously consider moving. He managed to get himself to sit up in bed and had begun to rub at his eyes by the time his cabin door opened. Mira stopped on the threshold, her expression bright. "You're awake," she said happily, leaning closer to stroke his messy hair and put a kiss on his cheek. "I'm so glad. I just finished making breakfast. I hope you would join us, dear." "I'd love to," Twist said, doing his best to not sound too sleepy. "I'll just get dressed." "Lovely," Mira exclaimed, as if he'd just agreed to give her a present. "I shall go and make sure the others leave you some," she added, vanishing through the door. Twist shook his head. Mira somehow managed to make even the most mundane and ordinary things exciting and delightful. He wondered mildly if he would still be charmed by her even in years to come. Once they were married, they would have the rest of his life to share. He hoped he might spend every one of his years just as enchanted by his wife as he was today. Twist dressed simply and freshened up, knowing there was little reason for perfect fashion at breakfast, and then went down to join the others. He found the kitchen table crowded with the entire crew and guests, all chatting as Mira and Pamut filled the table with Mira's culinary creations. "You're up early," Jonas mentioned, spotting Twist as he snatched a strip of bacon off a plate that sat beside a tower of golden brown pancakes. "It's only 10 o'clock." Twist shrugged. "Sleep is good for the soul, but then again, so is bacon." "Especially bacon," Robin agreed with a nod, already chewing on a strip. "You're a swell cook, Dollface. Thanks." "I'm glad you like it," Mia replied, adding a plate full of fried eggs to the table. "Twist, have a seat, dear. I already made you a plate." "Thank you, darling," Twist said, taking one of the two remaining chairs. Mira immediately placed the plate before him, along with a cup of tea, and then sat beside him. Twist was amazed by how advanced her cooking skills had become, even without Quay on board to guide her. Pamut seemed to have helped this morning as well, though, and seemed proud of his efforts as he took his own seat and looked over the offers. Twist eagerly dug into his remarkably fluffy pancakes with butter and sugar syrup, crisp bacon, and perfectly runny eggs, making sure that he expressed his enjoyment to Mira. Is he really all right? She asked coyly, eating up his praise as eagerly as he did the food. I haven't eaten like this, well, in years, Miguel mentioned. I feel spoiled by your cooking, my dear, he added with a smile to her. The others voiced similar compliments, all of which Mira clearly enjoyed immensely. What did you make, Pumut? Kima asked him. I mixed the pancakes up before they got all fluffy in the pan, he answered. You set the table too, Mira pointed out. You're so very helpful, sweetheart. Pumut beamed, still seeming surprised to be praised at all. Eventually, as the plates slowly emptied, the conversation turned to their journey. Twist glanced out the wide windows in the far wall and was surprised to find land now lying in a thick green carpet under the drifting, puffy white clouds. The sea behind them was still shining in the far distance, under the blazing sun. Where are we? Twist asked, realizing his pocket globe was still in his cabin. Oh, that's where. Okay. We just entered Brazilian airspace a little while ago, Jonas answered. We'll reach the northern border of Argentina in a few hours. Miguel shook his head. I wish I had access to a ship this fast in the last few years. It would have been spending a lot more time on steamers and airships than I have on the ground. Why all the traveling? Kima asked. I had to collect all of the anchoring elements that I needed in order to focus my time device. I could only pull them back and forth through time, not through space. So I had to go to the places where I knew they would be to collect them. Everyone else at the table looked to him curiously, clearly not following him. How precisely does your machine work anyway? Twist asked, suddenly realizing that he still had no idea how his father managed to dabble with the fabric of time. Miguel frowned in thought, remaining silent for a moment. He glanced over each of them and then back to Twist, appearing apprehensive. Twist suddenly began to wonder if the working of his machine might be a prized secret to him. After meeting with Twist, he waited a long time to mention it at all, and when he met with Sky and her crew, he said as little to them as possible. After all, a working time machine would be valuable to many. It's rather hard to explain, Miguel answered finally, seeming to see no danger in the faces around him. First, you have to understand the true nature of gravity and the way light waves actually work on a fundamental level. What do gravity and light have to do with traveling in time? Kima asked. Well, everything, Miguel said with a chuckle. You see, even though it might seem to move instantaneously, light actually moves through the universe very quickly, but at a precise speed, just as Newton said. For example, the sun is so far away from us that it takes about 8.5 minutes for the light from the sun to strike the earth. If the sun were to suddenly go out like a candle flame, we will still see it in the sky for 8 minutes until the changes of its light reached us. But, more importantly, the speed of light is a known constant. Twist listened to this, finding it all vaguely familiar from his school days. He never fully understood the concepts, but then again, he didn't need to. The sun still rose and shone over the earth, whether or not Twist understood how or why. You're talking about science again, aren't you? Pamut asked suspiciously. Yes, that's right, Miguel said kindly to the boy. I told you, science is the magic of this world. Pamut nodded thoughtfully. That is just the beginning, of course, Miguel went on, speaking to everyone again. The truth is that many things we take for granted about the universe aren't actually true. As another example, time itself isn't constant throughout the universe. The rate at which time passes can't be controlled by gravity and speed. Wait, didn't Einstein say something like that? Robin asked. Because if I remember my schooling right, he didn't come up with his theories until 1900 something. If it's still 1879, how do you know what he said? I don't know that man's name, Miguel said, shaking his head. What exactly did he do? Oh, boy, Robin said, looking frightened. Don't make me try to explain it. I never understood the stuff. All I remember is a bunch of stuff about mass and energy and gravity, something about everything about being relative, and a line like, How long does the station take to get to the train?" Miguel chuckled. Very clever. Yeah, well, Robin muttered, clearly not getting the joke. Twist glanced around the table to find that Miguel seemed to be the only one who did. Anyway, Robin went on, Einstein's always talking about time and how it acts differently from different perspectives. But I'm no egghead. I don't know much else about it. But still, how do you know this stuff? Miguel shrugged. I convinced the Jinn to tell me exactly why he couldn't grant my wish to alter the past. Apparently, they understand the rules of a universe better than we do. He added as an aside to Twist. I'd already begun working on the time machine as a hobby long before any of this happened, but I never understood the universe well enough to build anything until that Jin explained what I was missing. But, of course, Jin don't use machines. They never consider building one to help them affect time, and they usually stay well clear of dark stars. Well, I can understand that, Jonas mentioned, looking troubled. So how does your captured dark star change time? I use it to bend time and light back on themselves, forcing time to turn around as well, just long enough for me to trade something from the present or future with something of the past. The others listened to this silently, all clearly struggling to follow this logic. Twist had heard many strange things in his life, and this sounded just as strange as the rules of magic. Glancing at Pumut more closely, Twist noticed that the boy seemed to have the easiest time of believing what Miguel said. Clearly seeing that his explanation wasn't sufficient, Miguel gave a sigh and paused thoughtfully before asking, Has anyone got an hourglass? I do, Mira answered, glancing back toward the little kitchen. I use it to know how long to cook things. Could I borrow it just for a moment? Miguel asked in relief. Of course, Mira answered, already on her feet to retrieve the item. She returned to the table with a small hourglass, which looked like a 3-minute timer to Twist, and handed it to Miguel. The hourglass looked tiny in his hands, the two glass bells held together with a simple light wooden frame. Mira took her seat beside Twist. Thank you, my dear, Miguel said, holding the item up for everyone to see. Now, this is a crude example, but just imagine that all of space is a flat plane. We can move anywhere across it, however we wish. Apparently, to show this, Miguel moved the hourglass around without raising it up or down while holding it upright. And let's say for now that time is up and down, he added, indicating above and below where the hourglass was held aloft. The future is above and the past below. We can, of course, move into the future, but we can't move into the past, he said, waving his free hand appropriately. With you so far, Mr. Wells, Robin said. Miguel nodded. Now, let's say that we are all right here, right now, he said, pointing to the narrow center in the hourglass. We're sitting here on this airship over Brazil talking about this right now. And every possible future beyond this single event is all up here, he said, gesturing as if to extend the upper bell of the hourglass. Now, straight up, that's sitting still. We never move in space, but we continue on in time. If you want to move to the other side of the room, he indicated with a point, then you have to spend time to get there. If you want to move farther, like around the world, it takes more time unless you can move faster. So, as we move faster in space, the angles of our journey changes, he explained, indicating with his hands toward the 45-degree angle of each side of the hourglass's bell. The faster we go, the wider the angle becomes. Twist did his best to imagine this while the others watched his father with earnest interest. Miguel glanced around and seemed relieved to find he hadn't lost his audience yet. But this space on either side, he said, gesturing to show a wider angle than that of the hourglass's bell, isn't accessible from this event. It's impossible for us to ever reach from this present moment because we can't move that fast. To get over here, he added, pointing directly beside the center of the hourglass, we would have to move without spending any time at all, which is impossible. Now, he said, pointing to the slope of the glass again, for this example, this angle represents the speed of light. The Jinn told me that nothing in this universe can travel faster than light, and that is why we can't get into these other possible futures, he added, indicating beyond the angle of the hourglass once again. And of course, we can't get into the past either, because that's all the way down here, he said with a wave to the space under the hourglass. So our entire future is here in this upper cone. Hmm, I think I see that, Mira mentioned. Some of the others nodded in agreement. Twist took a sip of his tea, feeling like this new concept was somehow slippery and trickery to hold on to. And this, Miguel continued, smiling to Mira, is where the dark star comes in. A dark star has so much mass that its gravity is strong enough to bend light itself against its natural course. To illustrate this, Miguel tilted the hourglass gently to one side. And since gravity and speed affect time as well, then time itself also bends, changing the course of our possible future to point toward the past. Miguel turned the hourglass fully upside down to show this. So, even though it's impossible to move beyond the boundary of the speed of light, it is possible to change where the cone within this boundary leads to. As he put the hourglass down, a murmur of cautious understanding rippled over the others at the table. Even Pamut joined in with a confident smile. I use my device to trade two things on either side of the event, Miguel said, his voice carrying the air of resolution. I built my device so that I can have very fine control over exactly what the gravity of my dark star affects. I use objects that are from different points in time and space as the tuning point. And I trade items from the past and future with ones from the present by using targeting magic to capture them and switching their possible pasts with their futures for an instant with the Dark Star. And that, basically, is how it works. The others paused in a moment of varying understanding. Twist felt he somewhat grasped the concept, but most of what his father had said still seemed confusing to him. So, all that goofy stuff you just said, Robin said slowly, clearly thinking it through as well, is what you did to bring me here to this time. Yes, exactly, Miguel said with a nod. As I said, it's difficult to pinpoint the exact moment and physical object that I want to move through time, and with my wife, he paused for a sigh, I'm missing a part of the equation. I don't know exactly where she was when she vanished, only when she was. So I had to turn to fairy magic to target my device on her. But science and the dragon magic don't match the fairy magic very well, and it takes a lot of different anchoring events to target her. I've been collecting pieces that point to her from time and space all around the moment when she vanished. Vanished? Twist asked, frowning. Mama told me she was dead, not missing. His father looked up to him, his dark eyes suddenly empty of light. Right now, she is dead, he said softly, before taking a breath to shore up his emotions. She was murdered by the Winter Fairies, but they took her from this world into their own before she died. That fact is actually quite helpful. If her remains were in this world, I might not be able to bring her back alive at all without creating a time paradox. Let's not go into that, please, Jonas said, raising a hand. I'm running out of room in my head for all of this as it is. Miguel smiled at him. I understand. It took me years to grasp these concepts well enough to build my device, and that watch you carry, he added, speaking to Robin, is actually the final event that I need. I now believe I have enough events to accurately target my wife, and it's a good thing too. I'm running out of time. I thought we were talking about a time machine, Kima pointed out. How can you run out of time? Because, Miguel said on a sigh, as I said, my device pivots directly around events at exactly equal distances in time. The first anchoring event I was able to get hold of was nearly 13 and a half years ago. The point I want to reach to was 27 years ago. That event 13 years ago is now the midpoint in time between where I am and where I want to reach to. In a few days, the time of that first event will be exactly between the moment when my wife vanished and my present. If anything stops the rescue, I have to wait another 13 years before I can try again with another anchoring event. So, why 1946? Robin asked, frowning. The day you took me from isn't in between today and further in the past. Miguel shrugged. I'm using events from every moment in the future and past I can get. 1946 is 94 years from 1852, the year when my wife vanished. Taking months, days, hours, and even seconds into account, that's exactly 7 times 13 and a half. Every anchor point I have is some multiple either ahead of or behind the moment of her disappearance. They all support each other, strengthening the targeting spell. Robin rubbed at his brow. Am I going crazy, or is this all starting to make sense? The part about the targeting spell is actually pretty clever, Pabot answered, but the rest of it still sounds like mathematics, he added with a derisive chuckle. Well, I think it's all terribly fascinating, Mira said while Miguel looked to Pamut in disappointment. I'm sure it'll work perfectly. Miguel gave her a grateful smile, while Jonas sniggered and shook his head. Although Twist was still feeling a bit confused by it all, especially since he'd forgotten exactly what light had to do with any of it, he refrained from asking for more clarification. Glancing around him, he found everyone now looked ready for a new and much easier topic of conversation. Here we are going to take a chapter break. A well-deserved chapter break, if you ask me. Hello, Robsy. How are you doing today? How is your night? It is, or very early morning. How are you doing today? I want to thank you all for joining this reading stream. I hope you're enjoying the story as well as the reading of the story. I do have a slight confession. I forgot the voices for Miguel and Robin. I had to kind of remember my inspiration for the voices. Robin, for some reason, I thought of, I suppose, like one of those old timey gangster movies where, or like detective movies. I figured maybe that was his voice, but he's African American, so I may have to tweak that a little bit. So, but that's the voice I have for him. It's pretty distinct at the moment. Miguel almost sounds like Twist in my mind. I need to try to differentiate that a little bit. He is a Spaniard, but again, I don't do accents very well. But I hope that they were distinct enough to be told apart. And of course, Mira is still the hardest voice to do. I think I did a good job, but Mira is still the hardest voice to do. And I see messages from Robsy. Good and you. I slept early and woke up a few hours ago. Let's see. Is there any new news? Well, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, this week is the 12-year anniversary of Miss Taka and I being married. And by the end of the month, it will be our 20-year anniversary of actually meeting each other. So there is that news. And the other news I mentioned in the beginning of the stream is that the last Sunday of the month, I will not be doing reading streams because that day tends to be the day where I have writing group, community day, and possibly house meeting group as well. And that's just a lot to do to try to put myself in the right mind and energy levels for the reading stream. Because again, the reading stream takes a surprising amount of energy to do. Thank you for the congratulations. And yes, it is, I will say, these past 20 years, from the time, for those who don't know, some little lore about me, from the time I left Memphis to go to college until now, so that includes our time in Asia, including Japan, China, our time on the West Coast, back in the South, back here again. It has been a wild 20 years. Worth it. And you know what? In those 20 years, I got to meet people like Erudite, the author. We had classes together in Japan. Robsy, got to meet you through Twitch. Other people, mostly through Twitch, probably, but I may have met some of you in real life as well. It has been from 20 years ago, because I'm reminiscing a little bit here. It has been a bit of a wild ride, and the ride is still going. I'm sure you could fit in reading streams in the last Sundays. I'm sure I can. Now, the question is, how badly do you want me to read these stories? No, when I do the reading stream, I want to give it my all as much as I can, and I want it to be enjoyable for everybody as well. So if I come into the reading stream with very low energy and just cannot do the voices at all, or I make too many mistakes, I don't think it is worth it for anyone to join the reading stream for that. And from Ace, give her my condolences. That means congrats on 12, I guess. and Momo, yes, I'll let. And your fairy pet, yes, Appa and Momo, who adorable. Those two cats are adorable, and they're still troublemakers, but I love them. I need to take a sip of tea, and also, mm, also, did I say hello to Ace? I hope I did. Hello, Ace. Hope you're having a good day today. Let's see. Just took a sip of tea. Speaking of sip of teas, because it's about that time here, allow me the opportunity to tell you about the tea I'm drinking here. This tea is the Clockmaker. I did not neglect Ace. This is the Clockmaker tea. It is a staple of this reading stream here. The ingredients are roasted green tea, orange peel, black tea, pure tea, rose petal, and pine smoke. And you may be thinking to yourself, Taka, why'd you just say green tea twice? Because the ingredients literally say ingredients, roasted green tea, orange peel, black tea, pure tea, still don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, rose petal, pine smoke. No period. But if you want to find delicious teas such as this one, because the Clockmaker is still in my top 3 of favorite teas. Top 3. Anansi's Web is great. Oh my gosh. But if you want to find delicious tea like this and not feel forgotten like Ace, you should check out this wonderful tea shop in Seattle, Washington called Friday Afternoon. That is right. It is time for our non-sponsored sponsorship that we're going to pretend that they're sponsoring us, even though they have no idea, hopefully, that we're doing this, called Friday Afternoon, the tea shop in Seattle, Washington. If you go to their website, www.fridaytea.com, you will find a wide variety of teas that I am very certain will tickle your fancies, as much as the Clockmaker tickles mine. Now, this tea I want to tell you about is a little different than what I would normally read about online, like say, hey, give it a try. But we're going to do it anyway because this tea is called the Mugicha. Sorry, not Muguchi-cha, Mugicha, because it's barley. So, or barley tea. So I don't know exactly what the Hida stands for, but the Mugicha is definitely barley tea. So, Hida Mugicha is I could actually put this in chat here. One moment. Let me find my chat window here because this is Japanese. Mugicha. There is the tea name right there, Hida Mugicha. If you want to go online to find it on Friday Afternoon, the tea shop in Seattle, Washington. But this tea is one of their pure herbs and spices, and they have an entire collection. And it is not seasonal. This seems to be a year-round tea. The description goes as follows. This farm-direct Japanese barley tea is a delicious, non-caffeinated roasty treat. Try it hot for a cozy cup of comfort or iced for a crisp refreshment. Extremely popular in Japan and Korea both ways. Ingredients, you will be surprised. Roasted barley is gluten free. Well, no, hold on. I take that back. No, this is not gluten free. This is gluten allergen. They're letting us know it's gluten allergen. I just saw gluten, I thought free, and I was wrong. So, this roasted barley, if you have gluten sensitivity, I would not recommend this tea. If you are okay with gluten, I recommend this tea. And here's a reason why I recommend this tea. And actually, I'll read the recommendation, the review, and then I'll say why. I believe you should definitely check this out. So, this person gave it 5 stars 2 years ago in May, so 2023. Like the breakfast cereal of my dreams? My partner and I have been a fan of Mugi Cha for years and usually get it at the big local Japanese grocery store, both chilled in bottles and in bags to make hot at home. This Mugi Cha is much more like the bottled kind, a pale gold with that gorgeous roasted grain flavor, but without the slight preservative aftertaste the bottled stuff has to add. Noticeably different from the dark brew that comes from the bagged ground up stuff. Definitely going to be reordering this one. Honestly, it's so tasty, I'm tempted just to eat it without bothering to make it into a tea. Wow, that is an endorsement if I ever heard one. He does an area in Japan? Maybe, I can see that. But if that tea sounds delicious to you or any other tea, maybe you think to yourself, that sounds great. Well, you should go check out their website, www.fridaytea.com. Again, that is www.friday, like the day, and tea, like the drink, .com. And again, I am not paid to do this. They do not bribe me. They do not blackmail me. They do not threaten me and my family to say, if you do not do this, Taka, they will all be strangled by their toes. No, no. I do this because I enjoy their teas. And I also need to catch up on chat here. Someone should clip your streams and make an edit of you mentioning them and then tag them in the video. I will not stop anyone from doing that. If you want to get sponsored, you should make frequent visual posts of their teas and the packages, etc., and tag them constantly. Eventually, you might get sponsored. And that's my secret to getting sponsored by a company. Well, I do appreciate the advice, but I am also not looking for actual sponsorships. Be quite honest, I rather enjoy pretending that they do not secretly pay me things and whatnot. But yes, I don't really see myself doing a sponsorship. Because again, I do this for fun. I just enjoy doing it, so, free publicity, I guess. But for the Mugicha, the barley tea, here's why this is my own personal opinion here. I haven't had their Hitabugicha, but I will say this. And Erudite can probably back me up on this a bit. So, Erudite, and maybe anyone else who's been in Japan, do you remember a, I guess, fast food chain called Sukiya? It's it was like a fast food gyudon place, and you could go there and you get a bowl of gyudon, like a beef rice dish, for about 3 to 500 yen at the time, so roughly somewhere between $3 to $5. Anyway, the first time I went to a sukiya near um the station near my host mother's house, Gotokuji, in Tokyo, there was a sukiya near the station, and my host brother took me to the sukiya there to get a meal before we go to like a quick soccer game or something like that that he and his friends played. And it was the first time I had mugi cha, and I thought I would not enjoy mugi cha at all. Like I never had it before. The smell was different, and I was fresh to Japan, if you will. So I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. And over the years, over my time living in Japan, I've come to adore mugicha when eating at a gyudon place like at a fast food restaurant. It is surprisingly delicious, I would say, especially when it's hot during winter. It was great. I enjoyed it. So I don't know. I still have a lot of tea I need to go through, to be quite honest. People have been gifting me teas as well. So I have a surplus of teas, but I could see me getting mugicha in the future and just enjoying it because mugicha is, well, in Friday afternoon's case, Hida mugicha is very good. Old memory, but yeah, now I want gyudon and I'm vegan now. Oh, I'm sure they have what would it be called? Yasaidon? Like a vegetable bowl, rice bowl, maybe? I'm not sure. However, my first Wiki child was that ramen chain near Waseda that we used to go to. Forgot the name, but so many core memories. Um, the ramen shop near Waseda. Was it near Waseda or near Takada no Baba? Because no, it wouldn't be Sazaya, not Sazaya. Sazaya-san? No, that's a TV show. Cesaraya? Okay, so I know it's not one of the sit-down restaurants we went to. I'm trying to remember a ramen chain near Waseda. I remember a ramen shop near the Takada no Baba station, but I do not remember the name of that ramen shop near the Takada no Baba station. It was like halfway through the Babaruki. Huh, halfway. A ramen shop. I think I remember this shop because I frequented another ramen shop near my host mother's place a lot. No name, as far as I remember, but still, those were those were good times. I will say I do well. I intend to go back to Japan next year, so I'm still working on that. But yeah, those were our Waseda days. That was a lot of fun. Honestly, I would do it again. Fantastic, fantastic tonkotsu though. Yeah. Also, first time I had shio ramen and miso ramen. Miso ramen, my gosh. Reminiscing too much. This is the reading stream, not the reminiscing stream. So we're going to get back into our story soon. Hmm. However, if you're still here in the reading stream, I want to thank you for joining this reading stream as well as, well, listening to our nostalgic rantings here. Hope that you will enjoy the story as well as the reading of the story when we get back to it. And if you, dear listener, have a story or you know someone who has written a story and you think to yourself, boy, it would sure be nice to have someone like the Takanome read it online for a bunch of strangers, drop me a line either on Twitch or YouTube or my Blue Sky account. You can find me with the name The Takanome. No spaces. And I believe we are ready for the next chapter. I'm going to take a quick look here. I will see if we can get another two chapters in, but I may only have enough in me for one more. Let's see how this goes. But really quick from Robsy. Robsy suggesting with Ace that they write smut fiction together and make Taka read it. The question is, do you really want me to do that? Do you really want I will have to turn down my lights, maybe start the reading stream at night. It would be Taka After Dark. It'll be fan fiction. I would do it. Ace and Robsy, if you both or either one of you write something like this and you want me to read it, I will do it. In fact, there's also a chance that I will start reading some of my short stories every now and then on the stream as well. We will see. But let's get back into our main story, Clockwork Twist, Book 10, Time. The Icarus streaked peacefully but swiftly over the vast Amazon jungle, high enough above the clouds to make those aboard feel utterly disconnected from the Earth. After spending the morning trying to understand gravity, the speed of light, and time travel, Twist eventually gave up entirely and turned his attention to anything simple. Since Mira, Kima, Miguel, and Robin were all in deep conversation around the now clean and empty table, trying to convince a skeptical Pamut that mathematics really was a viable field of study and not just human superstition, Twist quietly slipped away. Stepping out on the deck, he found Jonas clearly chasing after his own piece. Twist smiled at the familiar image of his friend lying flat on his back, gazing up at the undisturbed sky with purple eyes. His music player sat at his side, the speakers on over his ears, as Jonas lay in a perfectly lazy and casual posture, one knee bent and one wrist curled up under his head. Twist immediately moved to join him, lying on his back on the pale wooden deck beside his friend. The bright midday sky was nearly blinding, so Twist closed his eyes instead. Everything all right? Jonas asked, having pulled one speaker off in air. Fine, fine, Twist said, but I could use a little quiet. Jonas paused a moment. Would you like to listen to some Vivaldi, or is silence better? Twist smiled. Oh, I think some Vivaldi would be lovely. The second half of the familiar, playful, and yet faintly bittersweet melody of spring appeared suddenly in the air, the violins and harpsichord sounding only slightly tinny through the larger speaker on the front of Jonas's music player. Having removed the speakers from his ears, Jonas lay down again and fell silent. Twist felt a gentle echo of the music in the buzzing at his neck, while Jonas gazed up into the stars behind the boiling yellow sun. Either by watching his own memories of having shared Jonas's sight, or by accidentally dipping into it again now, Twist's mind filled with the planets and stars while his own eyes remained closed. Twist danced through the smoky golden atmosphere of Venus with the louder moments of the music, and then wandered the endless stars with the deliciously melancholy refrains. The largest moons of Jupiter wandered through his thoughts as well, making him wonder idly how the dragons were enjoying their journey to them. And as a taut, energetic burst of violins gave way to the soft, languid notes of summer, the gigantic, sparkling rings of Saturn filled his inner eyes as he flew over them, just close enough to touch. Twist's soul eased deeply into the grandeur and beauty of both the heavens and the music. He lost himself in his own inner vision for what felt like eternity until he distantly realized that the winter section was drawing to a close. When the last piece fell silent, he was vaguely aware that Jonas sat up beside him to attend to his player. Oh, Jonas said, sounding surprised. I didn't realize you were out here. Twist opened his eyes, blinking swiftly and lifting a hand to shield them as the full force of the sun hit him square in the face. He managed to glance up to find Robin sitting against the rail nearby, lifting his head and nudging his silly-looking hat back up with his thumb, from where it had been lying gently over his face. Twist sat up as well, now that they had company. I heard the music and couldn't resist, Robin replied to Jonas. You got some good taste there, pal. Are you a music lover as well? Jonas asked, replacing the cylinder that had been playing into a small collection of box wax cylinders in the bag sitting beside his player. Sure, I like the classics now and then, as much as the next guy, Robin said with a shrug. But really, I'm a blues man myself. Blues? Jonas asked, looking to him curiously. What's that? You don't have blues yet? Robin asked, dismayed. That's a shame, buddy. A real shame. There ain't nothing in the world like truly good. Hold on. Okay, I see now. That's a shame, buddy. A real shame. There ain't nothing in the world like truly great blues. I think Billie Holiday is the first woman I ever loved. But what sort of music is it? Jonas asked. Can you describe it? Describe blues to a Victorian, Robin said, looking unsure. But then he paused, thoughtfully. Blues sounds like an old soul. It's not fancy or dressed up, it's complicated. The whole thing started with nothing but a man and his guitar. Like sing songs? Jonas asked, frowning slightly. We got music like that right now. Silly little ditties that anyone could sing to themselves with or without a piano. Oh no, I'm not talking about that, Robin said, shaking his head with a proud smile. A blues musician is an artist. They got a real, honest, unique voice. It's real life and heartbreak, and beautiful women with a voice that, like 1,000 years of hard times, she never deserved. Twist could only marvel at such a description, wondering mildly why anyone would want to listen to something that sounded so unhappy. The idea of music performed by a single man or woman sounded homely and common, but the way Robin spoke of it, it also seemed like popular fare. Twist wondered how much trouble it would be to perform in a multitude of locations to become as popular as some of the divas he heard of in the present. So you're talking about singing professionals like divas? Jonas asked. I guess it's kind of like that, Robin said with a shrug. I mean, blues isn't opera or even a classical symphony kind of profession, but these people sell records all over the world. Aha! Jonas declared, looking to Twist and brandishing a wax cylinder. I told you these things would take off. Robin chuckled. Well, the records in the 40s are a different shape and they're made of vinyl, he amended. Is that seriously a wax cylinder? He marveled, peering at it. I've seen those in museums. Well, yes, Jonas said, seeming somewhat disheartened. What shape are these music recordings in the future? What is vinyl? Robin laughed and shook his head. I'm no chemist. I don't have a clue what vinyl actually is, but a record is about like this, he said, holding his hands apart about roughly a foot and as flat as a pancake. I do know they're cheap and easy to produce, so everyone has them. People say they improve the sound quality too, but the sound of yours is better than I expected. Hmm, my player has been upgraded, Jonas said with a smug smile. That's gotta be it, Robin said. We got radios and movies too. Music today is more popular than ever, let me tell you. A musician doesn't need an orchestra or a big fancy show. Today is all about real people making real music that anyone could get into. Extraordinary, Jonas said, enraptured. Twist imagined he was too interested in hearing the future of music to bother asking what a radio or a movie was. Twist decided to let it go as well. Robin's world of the distant future seemed to be packed tight with wonder and strange, exciting new things. If lots of people own music, I bet there's a wide array of styles too, Jonas said. Sure, loads, Robin said with a nod. I stay mostly in the jazz world, with my blues and a bit of old Satchmo, but there's a whole world of singers and writers out there to listen to. More than I can keep up for sure. I only know my favorites, he added with a shrug. Jonas turned to Twist. I wonder if your father could send me into the future when he sends Robin back to his home. You travel to the future just for the music? Twist balked. I'd travel to the year 2000 just for the music if I could, Jonas replied. Wouldn't you? Can you even imagine what music will be like after another 100 years or more? Twist briefly tried to imagine what the world and its music might be like in 100 years, in the far distant year of 1979, but all that came to mind were some of the strange notions that Jules Verne had already come up with. He distantly wondered if humankind might have found its own path into the stars by then, without dragon magic to help, but then shook his head and dragged himself back to the present. I'm sure I wouldn't get it, Twist said sadly. I hardly understand much of the music I've heard as it is. Classical makes sense, and I'm happy to hear an occasional opera, but sing songs have never captured much of my attention. You like opera? Robin scoffed, shaking his head. Too rich for my blood. What's wrong with opera? Jonas asked, sounding somehow wounded. I don't get it, Robin said with a chuckle. Just like you don't get blues. He added with a nod to Twist. To me, opera just sounds like a load of high class people being loud and pompous. Hell, most of it's not even in English. Then you, sir, have been hearing the wrong operas, Jonas said, digging into his collection. He produced a new box. Try this one. It's Italian, but I don't think that matters one bit. You don't need to understand the words to feel them in this piece. Hmm, what's so special about that one? Robin asked skeptically. This one is my favorite arias, Jonas answered, putting the cylinder into his player. It's from La Traviata by Verdi. The diva's pretty good too. My mom was much better, but I never got a chance to capture her voice. Jonas only paused for an instant after mentioning this, and then continued on as if nothing had happened. I recorded this song myself in a theater in Vienna. Just give it a try. If you like real heartbreak and raw emotions, this is them at their best. Rob Robin's expression remained skeptical. A sultry and melancholy bassoon began a lilting line. An angelic voice, backed gently by cello, then took up the melody with the first line, Addio del passato, and then continued on with such grace and heavy sorrow that the sound of the disembodied voice gave Twist a shiver. He enjoyed the few operas he managed to hear thanks to Jonas, but this aria seemed somehow more poignant than he remembered from much of them. After a few heartbreaking lines, the voice suddenly lifted into hope, and a flurry of whispering flutes brightened the entire mood like sunlight after a storm, only to fall again into somber tones once more. Though he understood none of the Italian, Twist was amazed by how swiftly and completely he was taken in by the music. Although the general mood was unhappy, the beauty of the sound was so compelling that he was utterly enthralled. I have not heard this opera before, he mentioned to Jonas. What is she singing about? She just found out that the greatest love of her life is going to be executed, Jonas answered, while the song rose into greater emotion and volume once again. Robin breathed a curse, shaking his head. All right, that's gorgeous, he said, his skepticism long gone. And you're right. I don't have to understand the words to get it. You'll be surprised how often that happens with truly great music, Jonas said, as the angelic voice cried out in exquisite sorrow and breathtaking beauty. I still like my Billy, though, Robin muttered, even if this is pretty damn good. Jonas clearly took this admission as a victory, as the aria ended and he quietly removed the cylinder. I wish you brought a record with you, Robin. I would love to hear her. Would you like to listen to something else? Robin shrugged. What have you got? We are going to take another break here. Let's see. Robsy said, I would write a story and let you read it. I will be more than happy to read a story. I will read almost any story. It has to be readable, though. That is perhaps my one stipulation is that, well, maybe two. It needs to be readable and there needs to be a story. And Ace asked, wait, why am I writing smut? Asked Robsy. And Arudai asked, why not? Ace, you just have to give Taka hell. Oh, wait, that was from Robsy. Robsy said, Ace, you just have to give Taka hell, not Arudai. But Arudai said, completely fluff and superfluous chapter, that one. But I think I deserved a fun one, but now. By now, I see. Yes, that was a fun one. It was a nice, I suppose, a break in the main story just to see everyday life and to honestly contemplate what will music sound like from 100 years from now. It's actually an interesting question. In the year 2125, what would music sound like? Will we have more iterations of what we currently have, or will it just be honestly humans just stop making music and it's all AI making music? I'm hoping the first one and not the second one personally. And to be honest, I think it is going to be more the first one than the second one. I would argue music 100 years from now, we will still have music that is similar to what we have now, but I can see the different genres of music branching out based on maybe new sounds or technologies that are discovered, as well as not so much new emotions, but new ways to express those emotions. However, exactly how it would sound, I'm not sure. I am not sure. There will be all-star stress song memes in 2021, 2025. Sorry, 2125. I'm not thinking future terms yet, apparently. Can't stop that train now. I if I could time travel to the year 2125 just to listen to their music. I also wonder what would they play their music on? Would it just be beamed directly straight into people's brains without any devices? Or maybe there's like an implant in their brains? Or thoughts? These are thoughts. But more than likely, I will not be alive in the year 2125. If so, why? But it would be curious. Robsy, thank you for joining us. Hope you have a good sleep. And yes, also take care. And we will see you again either on stream or elsewhere. But take care and have a good morning, night time. Sleep well. And for everyone else here, I want to thank you again for joining this reading stream. Whether you're here live or listening to the VOD on Twitch or YouTube. Again, I appreciate all of the support that you give this channel that includes likes or follows, subscriptions, just telling friends and family and say, hey, there's this guy on the internet who does these weird voices and reads books. You should give him a listen. Again, I do appreciate it very much because this is a hobby. I don't intend to make money from this, but I enjoy doing it, so here we are. I'm looking at the time. Let's take a look. How many pages do we have? Hmm. I am not sure I will get through this in time. So this is what we do. Unfortunately, we're going to actually conclude the reading stream for the evening. I think that was honestly not a bad place to stop, but I took a quick peek at the next few pages, generally just seeing how many pages there were. And it looks like it's going to be a bit meaty. So we're going to wait on that one for next week. We will have the reading stream next week, and we should have it on the 24th as well, the following Sunday. Again, we will not have the reading stream August 31st because that is the last Sunday of the month, and I got too much going on the last Sunday of the month, apparently. So it is what it is. For September, well, for the remainder of this year, there will definitely be some other days I may not be able to do reading stream because next month in October, in November, I will be doing some traveling in those months. Next month, I'll be going to my alma mater to visit some old professors of mine and to maybe visit in a class or two. October, I'll be going to my, I guess, hometown. I'm not too sure how to describe it. I'll be going back to Memphis for a reunion. And of course, November for those in America, they know that that would be Thanksgiving time. Or if you don't believe in Thanksgiving, Black Friday time. I'm not sure if I'm traveling in December for Christmas or not. There's a possibility, but I don't know. Either way, we got some days where the reading stream will not be available, but I will keep you abreast of the situation. Again, thank you all for joining. I hope you enjoyed these readings. I hope you enjoyed the story as well. And again, the story is Clockwork Twist, Book 10 by Emily Thompson. And I highly recommend this series if you would like to check it out yourself. And with that, I wish you all a wonderful day, a wonderful evening. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time. Until then, take care and bye bye.